Episode 2. I am not going to be able to keep up this an episode kind of pacing that I've been doing because I just keep wanting to watch more. What I'm probably going to try doing is I'm recording this before I've even put the first episode out, but I'm probably going to start doing an episode here, like to talk about it once, because I want to see more. Like I'm really liking it so far, which is probably a good sign because that means that, the next seasons that are apparently even better, I'm going to love, hopefully. So, it's good signs all around. I'm going to talk about episode 2, and then we'll do, I guess, episodes 3 and 4 at once next time, and then 5 and 6, and then 7. It is shocking how short these seasons are. I mean, sure, the episodes are fairly long, but, like, the seasons themselves have very few episodes, so, I don't know, and it is fairly slow-paced, so it is not much to talk about in the first place per episode. I do have a summary here, as with before. I did notice when I did the summary for episode 1, I didn't bring it up in my video, but I noticed when I was reading the Wikipedia summary to make sure I didn't miss any details to talk about, it mentioned that the guys, I forgot their name, there was Emilio and then there was his cousin. It mentioned that they were seemingly dead. When it talked about how they were like knocked out with the gas or whatever in episode 1, it said they were seemingly dead, and when reading that, I thought, oh, that's an interesting detail. I wonder if that means they're not dead, but I figured that Wikipedia wouldn't, put in subtle things like that. I don't know. I wasn't expecting it to go anywhere. Turns out, nope, they are, or one of them is definitely still alive. I believe Emilio was the one who died. I don't know. I don't remember. They're not terribly important. I feel like they'll be gone soon enough. I feel like they're not going to stick around too long in this story. But then this whole episode, I was surprised that it started like basically immediately after the last one ended, like literally probably minutes later. And now, we are tasked with, okay, we've gotten ourselves way in over our heads. How do we deal with the problem that we've created now? And so, they have to get rid of these bodies, and they're being super careful about it because they do not want to be caught. Well, at first they're being super careful about it. Of course, that goes south very quickly. But they try and be super careful about it, and it's I don't know. Again, with same as the last episode, it didn't feel like it was going super slowly, and that I'm super happy about. I felt very invested in the story, and it's hard to describe how in what way I'm enjoying this series. Like, depending on what genre something is, it can kind of either be like a guilty pleasure, or maybe you enjoy it because it's like a tragedy and it kind of makes you sad, and and you kind of like to relish in that because you're a psychopath, or maybe it's some really action oriented thing and it just gets your blood pumping. This show, I think, the only way that I can describe how I feel about it so far is it's just fun. It is just entertaining. That's all there is to it. There's a bit where it's depressing, where you see how low Walter's character is, but now we're getting to the actual, I don't know, the more crime-related aspects, and it's having to get out of this stupid situation that they've ended up in, and seeing how they kind of wiggle out of that. How do you get rid of these bodies? How do you go from here? It looks like our two main characters want nothing to do with each other at this point. So where do we go from here? I think at a certain point, I think what it's going to do is similar to Squid Game. I know everyone's forgotten about that show, but in Squid Game, what you do is you have, I believe it was the first episode, where they go to the games and they realize it's terrible, and they actually all leave, which I don't think anyone was expecting. I think no one was expecting them to just be able to go. But what happens is so many of the people who left come back because their lives are so terrible that they're willing to take a risk on this one chance to, make things better for themselves. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen here. Walter and Jesse are going to go their separate ways, and then, again, Walter's going to realize how much his life sucks, and he's going to realize again how much, he doesn't really have much to lose because he's going to be dead in a few years anyway, and so he thinks, again, you know what, I'm just going to stake everything on this, and if it fails, at least I tried. If I succeed, my family is set for life. Again, in this episode, it doesn't seem like that motivation was really very clearly established. I feel like if I didn't know that's why he's doing this, I wouldn't know that he's doing it for his family. I would just assume he's doing it because he's like going through some kind of crisis or something. But no, it is established, I'm assuming later on, that he's doing this to help his family after he's gone and after the source of income is just vanished, as a sort of like parting way to maybe make their lives a bit better in his absence. And so he's going to realize that. He's going to realize that he needs to do that. He's going to, again, be at a very low point, and then we're going to actually get into Walter and Jesse's sort of alliance once again, and this time it's going to really stick, and they're going to have learned from their mistakes, and they're going to actually become the criminal masterminds that I assume they're going to become by the end of the series. Let's see if there's anything here in the plot that I specifically want to talk about. Leaving the RV at Jesse's house, I think, is kind of funny because, like, wasn't Jesse's face, wasn't his image on the website about him? I am pretty sure his image was plastered on that website that Walter's wife found. I think it was. That seems silly, but I feel like it was, which wouldn't that make it so easy to find him? You've got a face for this guy. His license plate, literally, it's like advertising. I don't understand how they haven't found this guy yet. And I feel like, as we saw in this episode with the bathtub incident, which was hilarious and also terrifying, by the way, I feel like he's going to just keep throwing wrenches into their plans because of his lack of expertise in certain areas of the business, whereas Walter is going to throw some wrenches into their plans in terms of other areas in the business. The sort of he's not going to know how to deal with the people involved in it. He's not going to know how to negotiate or anything, and it's going to lead to that's what's going to lead to how he is going to kind of cause the problems for these two. I think they're both going to kind of cause problems for them, but in different ways, depending on their personalities and what they do know. Walter is very smart when it comes to the academic part of it, the chemicals and mixing all that, and he's smart in that way. Jesse, I think, is going to be more smart in the social way, and he's going to be getting them further in that sense. This show is messed up, and yet it doesn't feel super like it's like glorifying the violence or anything yet. The bathtub scene was disgusting, but it was also, I don't know, almost funny? That seems wrong. Because they had this body, and they were dealing with him, and delaying everything, which makes sense, by the way, because, they've never had to actually kill anyone before, as far as we know, or to deal with a body in any sense, so they're naturally hesitating over this. This isn't what they signed up for. But eventually, once Jesse does take the step to take care of it, now it's a bigger problem, and now you still have the body. It's just a lot more messy. I don't know, something about that I found very funny. Maybe my sense of humor is just very sick. I will say, when Skyler was, suspicious of Walter, for some reason, and I cannot explain why, I don't like her very much. Obviously, she's the most morally sound person in this show, but I like her the least, and I don't know why. I guess it's because I kind of want to see what happens with this whole drug dealing business and everything, and I don't want her to kind of get in the way of that. I just want to watch the train wreck and see how it goes. And she's kind of, it looks like she's on the way to preventing that. She's trying to figure out what's going on so she can put a stop to it. I don't know. She doesn't get very far. When she asks Walter who Jesse is, I feel like he kind of went with a pretty bad answer for that, but at the same time, it wasn't that bad. He said, what did he say? He said he was buying marijuana from Jesse, which is good because, it covers up your lie with a bad thing, something that she will be upset by, just not as bad as what's actually going on. And so she probably won't ask any further. She'll just deal with that, and then it's water under the bridge. I mean, it's a big thing, but not as big as what's actually going on. What I would have said, hypothetically, if I were in his situation, and lying to my wife, is I would have said that Jesse's real down on his luck. Ever since Walter flunked him in high school, he's been on a downward spiral, and now he comes crawling back to Walter. He's like, hey, can you get me back in the school? I want to really reform myself. I want to get my diploma of high school. I want to make things right and become an upstanding citizen. And Walter didn't want to tell Skyler because either he thinks that she would disapprove of him helping him, or that she would want him to help him, and he doesn't want to. Sort of, I guess, depending on what he thinks her more natural response would be. Kind of playing on that, and then, then you don't have to lie about buying marijuana. I don't know if she would believe that more likely, but that's the explanation that kind of ran through my head of what I would probably end up saying if put on the spot like that. just a hypothetical scenario that I thought was interesting. I noticed in the last episode the whole gas mask was left behind. I wondered if that was going to go anywhere, and it has, but it looks like maybe that was just a way to end the episode. I can't tell if that's actually going to go anywhere or anything, or if it was just something to kind of call back to the pilot. I can't quite tell if they're actually planning to go somewhere with that. I could see one of those kids going home and they come home with this gas mask, and now, an investigation sprouts regarding it. Or I could see it just being a way to, I guess, end the episode on a less sudden note, other than the bathtub falling through the floor. That was rather sudden, and I was wondering how they were going to wind down for the credits, and that, the scene with the gas mask, I think, did that. It was a little less loud, a little less chaotic, and it was a nice way to kind of ease into the credits and have that cool song playing for the end. I don't know what it was, but I'm a fan. Once again, I feel like we're foreshadowing that Hank is going to be a big player in this story eventually, but he isn't yet, so I'm wondering when that's going to happen. I feel like since he was already established in the first episode, probably before the end of the first season, he's going to be sort of a big threat to our two main characters here. But I guess we'll see, because I don't know. Could be a lot later. There's a lot left to go in this show. I'm excited for it. I think that's all I have to talk about for episode 1, though. Or 2. Episode 2. Next time we will be covering episode 3 and 4, just so I can watch a little more before making another one of these. And also just have more to say, because this episode's like half as long as the last one, so I think 20 minutes is more of a good time to aim for. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you soon.